Hello everybody! I've had too much coffee on my stimulants and I am vibing, so here I am today. I am going to catch you all up on what's happened since my last speed draw, and this video is a little bit more planned out and less of an off-the-cuff video like the last one was. I realized I was kind of like rambling in the last one. I'll probably still do it here. Anyway, I was properly diagnosed and given medication called methylphenidate, or Concerta, which is a slow-release stimulant used to treat adult ADHD. I've heard kids can also take this, but it's more of a long-lasting one, so it's not normally prescribed to kids. It's normally Ritalin that's prescribed to kids, which is still slow-release, but wears off a little faster so they can go to bed on time. Or at least that's how my doctor described it. Anyway, I'm also on a lower dose now of Cipralex, or escitalopram, which is used to treat a variety of different anxiety disorders and depression. I have a wombo combo of generalized anxiety disorder, which I already knew, but now also ADHD, which turns out they run hand in hand a lot. I can confirm, though, that I am not depressed as of this recording, so please don't worry about me. At least for that. I've had bouts of like year-long depressive episodes before, and I can say for the first time in a while, as of right now, I'm kind of doing okay. I'm not feeling depressed. Yeah, so let's continue on. If there is anybody out there, I'm going to leave those links from the last video in this video as well, because again, we're talking about mental health and struggles, and just my experience on what happened since then and how the medication I've been on has affected me since it's been a couple of months. Anyway, so yeah, anyone else have the gifted child to oh god, what is wrong with me teenager phase to adult ADHD diagnosis? Because yeah, that was me. And when I started the Concerta, I noticed a few things right away that I thought were normal for everyone, but it turns out I was wrong. You can actually stop thinking. I know what you're thinking. It's unheard of. You cannot turn off your brain. It's impossible. When you ask your friends or your partner what you're thinking, they aren't lying when they say nothing. I swear to you it is possible. Unhinged, rambling thoughts all day over nothing are not the normal for a lot of people. I thought that was normal brain function, and that everyone else was just lying to me. But it turns out, I was wrong. About 30 minutes to an hour after taking my first dose of Concerta, which was 18 milligrams at this point, by the way. It gets increased later, but we'll talk about that later. About an hour-ish after I took it, my thoughts stopped. And it was really kind of spooky. It just, like, my brain went quiet, and I was walking to work on a busy street, and it was just weirdly cool and calm. I heard all the noises on the street, but they weren't, like, overwhelming me anymore. I wasn't worried about anything and could actually focus on my walk in peace. I wasn't distracted by my phone, or that leaf, or that bird in the distance. I could actually, control what I wanted to think about. I still noticed things, but I didn't go on random thought patterns about them for an hour. Which, for the first time ever in 36 years, that has happened to me. I could actually control my thoughts. I could always control my thoughts. I should probably word that a little differently. I could always control what I was thinking of. But if I was, like, not focused on something, or just, like, in the middle of something, my brain would ramble about whatever. Or sing a song to itself or whatever. It still does that, but I can actually control it a little bit more now. I also noticed my energy level wasn't a roller coaster every day anymore. It was stagnant. I wasn't lazy or bored or anything, but I wasn't like crazy hyperactive or bouncing off the walls anymore either. Like, it would flip-flop between the two. I noticed I had a steady stream of energy all day, every day I took my medication, and even got chores done, which normally I think about and hate. I just was like, nobody else is judging me for my dishes. I'll do it later, which still happens, but definitely not as frequently as it used to. On my first day off from work, too, while on this Concerta medication, I decided to freshen up the place and rearranged all the furniture in my apartment because I was bored. felt like I wanted to, so I did it. It was absurd, and I couldn't believe who I was becoming. I liked it, though. I liked this new me, because all the things that I had insecurities about or had problems dealing with in the past, I suddenly was finding them not as difficult to deal with. They were still happening, but I could manage it. I didn't lose my emotional attachment to things either, which I was worried about, because when I first started taking the anxiety medication, the Cipralex, I felt numb for like 2 months before evening out, which is completely normal on that kind of medication. SSRIs are that kind of, you have to adjust to it, and you shouldn't stop them abruptly because it can cause a lot of problems. But again, that's normal, it just sucks. But with Concerta, it was like the change was almost night and day, and you could really feel it changing. When they start to wear off, it's almost like, how do I explain this? It's almost like I can feel the thoughts slowly start to chirp up again, almost like a conversation in another room in my head. Like, I'll just start thinking like, oh, that's a pretty bird. I wonder what kind of bird that is. I should Google this bird, and then learn about birds for like an hour and a half. You know, like that kind of thing. I used to do it all the time, which was great for learning random facts, but terrible for focusing on anything. But now I can physically stop that. All I do is just try to stop thinking, and for once ever, it works. It's unreal how my brain functions now. Oh, and I can sleep without background noise now. That's something that I've never been able to do. I still prefer it, just, I guess, out of habit, but it's not needed anymore. Just like little quality of life changes I noticed that are completely amazing for me. And I know medication isn't for everyone. There were some side effects. When I first started taking it, I noticed that my dry mouth and my acid reflux was really bad. I don't normally have heartburn or acid reflux, but I got it pretty bad for like the first couple of days I started Concerta. It did go away, and the dry mouth went away, but that was something that was really uncomfortable for the first couple of days. But other than that, it wasn't that bad for me. Oh, and sometimes I have a hard time winding down in the evening. I had a really hard time going to sleep the first couple of days. Like, I would get restless leg syndrome, and I felt really itchy all over. And I thought maybe it was my sheets, but it turns out it was the medication. And again, that went away. I adjusted to it a lot quicker than I thought I would, because I was so used to the 2-month adjustment period with the anxiety medication. But yeah. I know it's not for everyone, but I at least urge you to at least speak to a professional about it and weigh your options if possible. If you haven't already, that is, because honestly, I cannot describe to you the difference that Concerta has given me. Or at least, I'm not sure if there's a different type of medication that will help for you or do the same things for you. That's something you can talk to your doctor about. And also not sponsored by Concerta, by the way, just having truly changed my life and how I think and how I process my emotions and stuff like that now. It was really eye-opening. I didn't realize how different I was until I wasn't, you know? I still have panic attacks from my anxiety, but they're not nearly as frequent as they used to be. Even with my GAD medication, it still happened, just not as frequently, but the ADHD medication has really made a big difference now, and I think it's because I can actually stop thinking. It's easier for me to talk myself out of a panic attack much quicker because I have more control over how my brain works and how I can think. I didn't realize how much the two disorders could affect each other until I was taking both medications, and it has helped a lot in my personal life, in my friendship life, in my work life. I just find it so much easier to get through the day, and then when I go home, I'm not thinking about everything that happened that day. Just a lot of... Unless it was really important, obviously. Like, important things were still important, and I still remembered them, but I wasn't hanging on to things I didn't need to, and that was a big change. Another thing that happened since that last video, I had a wicked gnarly tooth extraction. Very shortly after bumping my Concerta dosage up to 56 milligrams. This was a gradual over the course of weeks. kind of increase because you gain a tolerance to it. It is a stimulant. This was monitored by my doctor and everything, but a day or two after getting that tooth extraction done, I felt incredibly sick. Like, multiple friends came to my aid to help me. I was driven to the hospital. I was violently expelling from both ends, and I was hospitalized for 2 days, actually. I was sure, like 100% sure, I had an infection from the tooth extraction because of the timing. But I only had like a tiny fever, which probably meant I was wrong. Like, I didn't have a fever. By the way, not COVID. Tested for that too. Not COVID. But nobody could really figure out what was wrong with me. I wasn't given a clear diagnosis on what happened with me. I was told I probably picked up a bug since my immune system was shot from the tooth extraction. Just like weird bad timing. I don't know. For any medical professionals out there, my blood tests showed really low CO2, low PO4, and high AST, whatever the hell that means. A friend of mine thought it was maybe because I smoked THC. I had an adverse reaction to the anesthetic and the freezing used by the dentist, which also could be true. Apparently, THC can make you react badly to that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of things it could have been, but I was so sick, and because of all the vomiting, I couldn't keep down my medication. I developed a dry socket. Ugh, that was the worst. Anyway, whatever the case, I went home with antibiotics for 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks? I think it was a week and a half. 10 days. Gravol for the nausea. Both Tylenol and Advil, 2 extra strength for the tooth. And then I was also supposed to take my anxiety medication and this new upped dosage of Concerta, which is a stimulant, and I was supposed to be resting. So I didn't take those medications for my recovery period. I just took what the doctor sent me home with. Which was 2 weeks. I was knocked on my ass for almost 2 weeks. And, like, on and off, I would still go to work if I felt good enough, but I was not well for at least 2 weeks. And I had just started this new job, too. Luckily, I'm still there. They didn't let me go. I did get a write-up, but, I mean, that's expected. I'm brand new, and taking 2 weeks off for sickness, ugh, it was bad. Anyway, the problem was, when I was done my antibiotics and I felt I didn't need the Gravol and pain meds anymore, I took my Concerta again, which was an upped dosage. And boy howdy did I lose my tolerance. I remember sitting on my couch, luckily I had the day off, and I was resting. Yeah, I was sitting on my couch and my resting heart rate was 120, and I felt like I was going to explode. I was not moving. I was just sitting on my couch trying to calm down, watching YouTube videos. I had never felt a pressure in my chest like that before. I had never felt my jugular pulse that fast before. It actually scared me. I spoke to my doctor about it, and he said try lowering the dose, but all I had were the big 56 milligram tablets, and you can't, like, cut them, because otherwise it changes from slow release to fast release, which gave me the same problem. Anyway, I went back to him, and he readjusted my dose back down to the 18 milligrams, which is the starting dose I was on, and I basically started over. And that brings me to now, today. I'm on dose 2. My tooth healed fine. I had a few bone spurs I had to remove myself, and I think there's still one in there. Don't Google that if you're squeamish. It is what it sounds like. But it was more relief getting them out than pain, really. It wasn't that bad. It was actually one of the more satisfying things I've ever done. Like, you know how popping a pimple is gross but really satisfying? It was kind of like that. I can eat properly again, and although I'm still readjusting to my ADHD medication, I know how it'll affect me now, and I look so forward to continuing this journey to get myself where I want to be mentally and physically, you know? Because I didn't like who I was. And I knew others didn't like me either, but I didn't know what to do about it. I just knew I wanted to be different. I wanted to be somebody that everybody liked, and I realize now that people still don't like me, but I'm starting to like me, which is all I really needed, I think. People still say I'm a lot, and I get too excited, and I'm a firecracker, which are all just really nice ways of saying calm the fuck down. But you don't owe anyone anything. I don't owe anyone anything, and if you want to be wild, you're allowed to be. Some people will love that about you, and some won't. And you do not have to make yourself fit into every other person's puzzle, because you'll never be the right piece for everyone. And that's okay. That was my biggest takeaway from the quiet brain and self-reflection time I had. I just need to like me, and other people will like me too. And if they don't, that's fine. The people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter. It took me really sitting down and trying this medication to figure out how much of my personality was the ADHD, and how much of it is actually me. And guess what? I'm a fucking firecracker, and I don't have to change for anyone but myself. And neither do you. I love you. Bye!